Hey guys, I'm Calluna, and welcome back to the next Game of Thrones breakdown. In episode 2, titled Home, we are once again left with an ending making us wish it was the next episode already. Quite a bit happened in this episode, so without any further ado, let's get started. Weirwood Cave. We open with the Three-Eyed Raven and Bran having visions of the past through the roots of the Weirwood tree. The Three-Eyed Raven, now recast with actor Max von Sydow, has been teaching Bran to use a special gift, green sight. This allows Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven to be able to see past events through the roots of the Weirwood trees. This isn't the first vision Bran has been shown, but it's the first time where he recognizes the place and the people. The show hasn't said who the Three-Eyed Raven is just yet, but his true name is Brynden Rivers, also known as the Blood Raven. There's a long and complicated history to this character, but to sum it up, he's hundreds of years old and from the Targaryen bloodline. Bran and Bloodraven are in Winterfell, where we see a young Ned Stark training his younger brother Benjen Stark how to use a sword. I had originally thought that this other boy with Ned was his older brother Brandon, but actually, according to IMDb, this is a young Roderick. If you don't remember him, he was the man who was beheaded by Theon way back in the beginning. A girl comes in riding on a horse. It is Lyanna Stark, Ned's younger sister. The show has been slowly referencing what happened to her. She was supposedly kidnapped by Rhaegar Targaryen, which was one of the events that led to Robert's rebellion. However, in more recent seasons, it's been questioned whether Lyanna was actually kidnapped or not. The show also seems to be leaning towards the R+L=J theory quite a bit. Now, from what we've seen so far with this scene, as well as knowing there's a Tower of Joy flashback occurring in the next episode, it seems that the showrunners are using Bran's green sight as a means of filling in the gaps from the books that they weren't able to have done in the show so far. The Tower of Joy scene is actually a dream Ned Stark has in the first book, where he is remembering that event from his past. So far in the books, Bran's green sight doesn't extend too far past the Godswood, though Bloodraven tells him as he becomes more experienced with it he'll be able to see farther. So, to speed things up a bit and to let us have more scenes that we otherwise wouldn't have, it seems Bran's abilities are more plot sight than green sight. We also see a young Hodor at Winterfell, whose real name is Willis, and he seems to have all his mental capacity back then. In the books his real name is Walder, but my guess is the showrunners didn't want people to think of Walder Frey, kinda like when they changed Asha Greyjoy to Yara, so as not to confuse her name with Osha the Wildling. I wonder if we will get to learn what happened to Hodor to make him the way he is now. The Blood Raven warns Bran he cannot stay in the past too long, however. It is beautiful beneath the sea, but you will drown. Mira is not really enjoying her time at the cave, since she isn't able to do anything of value, and oh yeah, her brother died! One of the children of the forest talks to her, telling her that Bran isn't going to stay at the cave forever, and he will need her out there. So I guess that means that Bran isn't taking over the Blood Raven's duty at the cave? We've been wondering what exactly Bran was going to learn through the visions, and how exactly that was going to come into play with the rest of the story, but I assume it has to do with the inevitable final conflict, the War for the Dawn. The Wall. Alistair Thorne and his cronies have finally come back to break down the door, but lo and behold, Ed managed to meet up with the Wildlings, tell them what happened, and convince them to head to Castle Black all in one episode. Yeah, if last episode and this episode have taught me anything, it's that things are moving rather quickly this season. No lie, I cheered when 1-1 the Giant smashed through the door. Also, he manages to have one of the few funny kills in the episode, but yeah, it'll even out, trust me. And of course, the two that just won't give up are Alistair and Ollie. Man, I don't know why I hate that kid so much. His hatred of the Wildlings is totally justified, but still, a little shit. Tormund is pretty upset about Jon's death, and he tells them to prepare to burn his body. Yeah, not too much to really break down about this part of the scene, other than Davos swinging Longclaw is pretty fucking badass. King's Landing. After hearing a man make fun of Cersei, Robert Strong gets the other funny kill for the episode when he just smashes the fucker's head into a wall. Cersei doesn't even question the blood on the guy's hands. When Cersei tries to go to Myrcella's funeral, she is stopped by the Kingsguard, who tell her Tommen wishes for her to remain in the keep. You can understand why Cersei's pissed. This scene is key for two reasons. 1. Displaying the power of Robert Strong and how easily Cersei is able to command him. 2. Showing the growing tension between Cersei and Tommen and how Tommen has been slowly moving away from her influence. First when he was married to Margaery, then after Cersei had been imprisoned and he was left on his own. We cut to the Sept of Baelor, where we find out Tommen suspects Cersei of having Trystane killed. We even get a bit of character development for Tommen. He hasn't been to see Cersei since he's ashamed that he wasn't able to do anything for her or Margaery when the Faith Militant took them. Tommen recognizes his own weakness as king and wants to do something about it, but just doesn't know how. I actually like this choice a lot. They had to age Tommen quite a bit in the show. In the books, Tommen is still a child and is being advised by the Small Council and Kevan Lannister, Tywin's brother and acting hand of the king. And yes, he is married to Margaery, but it was a political move to keep peace with the Tyrells. Once Tommen is older, then he'll consummate the marriage. The High Sparrow makes an entrance and Jaime isn't too pleased to see him there. Jaime threatens the High Sparrow, but he makes it very clear that if Jaime kills him, which he could very easily do, all of the High Sparrow's followers will still work together. He once again tells Jaime that the many can overthrow the few, even if they are poor and disadvantaged, hinting at the war brewing in the streets. It's only a matter of time before he makes his big move. Again, I think it's going to involve Margaery somehow, but I'm not quite sure yet how that's going to work. I'm really curious to see where the show is going after watching Tommen ask his mother to help him be stronger. I had assumed that Tommen was, like his book counterpart, just going to be pulled back and forth between Cersei and Margaery as each tries to assume power. We already saw a bit of that, but since this Tommen has a bit more agency, I'm wondering how this will work. Cersei uses her status as Queen Regent to make decisions for Tommen in the books, so by having Tommen come to Cersei for help, it's basically doing the same thing. It depends on how Margaery is used in the coming episodes. We know that Tommen wanted to help her but wasn't strong enough. Now with Cersei's help, will she actually help Tommen save Margaery, or will she let her rot? Meereen. We get a small group talk from Dany's small council, currently comprised of Varys, Missandei, Grey Worm, and Tyrion. Tyrion, now completely out of his self-deprecation, continues to make bad jokes about eunuchs, earning him a bad look from Grey Worm as a result. Dany's liberation of Yunkai and Astapor has been completely eradicated. The Masters have taken control back of most of Slaver's Bay, with Meereen being the only one left. We find out that the dragons have stopped eating since Dany left Meereen, and Tyrion shows off his fountain of knowledge for dragons by saying they shouldn't be chained up anymore. So, then he has the brilliant idea to go down there himself and unchain the dragons. If it was anyone other than Tyrion, they'd be toast. I love the look Varys gives him as he descends the stairs, like, this is the stupidest plan you've ever come up with, or, yeah, I'll just be way back here where it's safe. Tyrion's explanation for this is that dragons are intelligent and that they can sense intention. In any case, Tyrion manages to unchain Rhaegal and Viserion and make it out unburnt. Book fans will definitely get a kick out of this scene because it fits really nicely into a certain prophecy. The dragon has 3 heads. Real quick, this prophecy leads readers to suspect that there's going to be one rider for each of the dragons, which conveniently matches up with the Targaryen sigil of a 3-headed dragon. Obviously, one is Dany, another popular choice is Jon, since it's highly probable that Rhaegar Targaryen is his father, and third is usually thought to be Tyrion due to his fascination with the dragons and the role that he plays in the books. There is also a theory that Tyrion is actually a Targaryen, with his mother having been raped by the Mad King. It would make him match up rather nicely with Dany and Jon. All of their mothers died giving birth to them, and all of them have killed lovers in some fashion, but that's a discussion for a whole nother video. But basically, since Tyrion has an easy enough time somewhat befriending the dragons and, generally just not burning to a crisp, it really makes people take another look at that prophecy. Braavos. Arya continues more of her training with the Wave, who keeps asking her what her name is. Arya keeps answering no one, since that is what she needs to become in order to complete her training as a Faceless Man. Jaqen reappears to her and asks her who she is. Jaqen tries tempting her with a place to stay, food, or returning her eyesight, but Arya refuses, continuing to call herself no one. This is apparently enough to allow her to return to the House of Black and White with him, though she is still blind. Don't want to spoil too much here since this is still book territory and I don't want to definitively spoil the events of the season too much. I'm only surprised they didn't keep her on the street a bit more, but they kinda need to move forward with a bit of her storyline, so it makes sense that she's already heading back. Winterfell. Roose Bolton receives word about the men Brienne killed. The man delivering the report is Lord Karstark, the son of the man who Robb beheaded way back in Season 3, who as a result made half of Robb's army leave. Ramsay says he figures Sansa will head to the Wall to meet up with Jon Snow. Lord Karstark repeats what we've heard several times now. If there's a Stark at Winterfell, the North unites behind them. Even if Jon is a bastard, which of course Ramsay is a bit touchy about, Roose doesn't want to fight the Night's Watch for fear of retribution from the other northern houses. But Ramsay points out that the Umbers, Karstarks, and Manderleys have the most soldiers and the Boltons only need their support to triumph in the north. The maester informs Roose that Walda has given birth to a boy, but that news is short-lived as Ramsay kills Roose in basically the same way Roose killed Robb. Karma's a bitch, ain't it? Karstark seems to have been in on the plan or just agrees with Ramsay's plan for vengeance. And man, the deaths keep piling up as Ramsay traps Walda with the hounds, setting them on her and her newborn. Yeah, okay, show, we get it. Crazy psychopath Ramsay has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Ugh. While Roose's calm nature was unsettling, Ramsay's descent into madness is definitely terrifying. Ramsay is now in charge. Oh boy. The North. Brienne tells Sansa that she saw Arya, though she doesn't specify that Arya had been with the Hound, which is an interesting detail to not mention since she was clearly told by Podrick that it was the Hound when she fought him. Perhaps she didn't want to mention it to her since she was unable to find Arya later? Podrick would definitely know that Sansa knows who the Hound is, but who knows if he even mentioned it to Brienne. But then again, Podrick still doesn't know how to light a damn fire. Theon doesn't want to go to the Wall now that Sansa is safe with Brienne and Podrick. We get a bit of a tender moment with Sansa and Theon since she knows she won't see him again, most likely. Even though Theon says he doesn't want to be forgiven, it's clear that helping Sansa escape has redeemed him in some capacity. Theon wants to return home to Pike, which is kinda confusing for me since I don't really see what the point is. Perhaps to try and find Yara since she did try to rescue him once before? Theon's role as Sansa's protector is now in Brienne's hands, it seems. Pike. Balon Greyjoy continues to be a complete and total asshole, so when he starts walking out on a rickety bridge in the middle of a storm, you know that isn't good. Here we meet his younger brother, Euron Greyjoy, who we learn is a little bit of a crazy bastard. Euron then makes Balon fall to his death. It's interesting to see that Euron himself kills Balon in the show. In the books we hear about Balon's death secondhand, though Balon's other brother, Victarion, suspects that Euron was involved. Now, Balon had banished Euron from the Iron Islands, telling him not to return while Balon was still alive. So when Euron just so happens to arrive at Pike the day after Balon has died, it raises suspicions. It's unfortunate that the show waited so long to have him die. If you remember back, Stannis had Melisandre perform the blood magic ritual with leeches to remove all the false kings, Robb, Joffrey, and Balon. Renly was gone by then. Balon is actually the first of these three to go in the books, since it's in Catelyn's chapter that we learn about the death. So it would have been an interesting thing to consider. Did Melisandre's magic happen to cause or influence these deaths, or not? As Balon's body is put out to sea, Asha swears by the Salt Throne that she'll find out who killed Balon, clearly not believing he just fell. The drowned god priest tells her that she isn't the heir, not definitively anyway. Pretty sure this is supposed to be Aeron Greyjoy, aka Damphair, another brother of Balon's, who became a priest of the drowned god. The King's Moot that he mentions is going to be an interesting part of this coming season. If the king has no male heirs, then any captain is able to put forth his or her candidacy for King of the Iron Islands. This comes from the Ironborn belief that every captain is a king on his own ship. The candidates choose champions, make a speech, or give gifts. Once a majority name is spoken aloud, then the King's Moot is decided. We know that Asha is definitely gunning for it, but there's going to be several other people trying to take control, including Euron. The Wall. Again. And we cut back to the Wall one more time. Davos goes to talk to Melisandre to see if she knows any way to bring back Jon Snow. Mel doesn't really seem to have any faith in her abilities anymore, claiming that everything she saw in the flames was a lie. Davos shows some real strength of character by telling Mel he doesn't believe in the Lord of Light, he believes in her, after seeing everything she's done in these past few seasons. It's amazing to see how his relationship to Melisandre has evolved. Davos' pure belief, or just insistence, convinces Melisandre to try and do what she saw Thoros of Myr do. She washes Jon's body, performing some kind of ritual with the flames, and of course the show tries to make us think Jon isn't coming back. This drags on for like 5 or 6 minutes. But nope! He's back, y'all! It's so cute how the showrunners tried their best to make us think Jon was dead for good. I mean, if you were just gonna bring the guy back in the second episode, it really didn't seem like that big a deal to hide it. Plus, no one believed you anyway, so really, more work for them. Preview. I realized that I didn't do a preview for the previous episode, so whoops! Sorry. Well, here's a couple interesting things in the coming episode. Everyone's reaction to Jon Snow being alive. Check his eyes! Are they blue? Arya continuing her training with the Waif and Jaqen. Ramsay's getting a gift. Now, I have a really bad feeling about this one. It's real quick, but in the preview we see this banner. This is the banner for House Umber, one of the northern houses that originally was the bannerman to the Starks. Now, if we remember, Rickon and Osha were heading to the last hearth, the Umber stronghold, after leaving Bran with Jojen and Mira. So what if the Umbers are handing over Rickon to Ramsay? Well, shit. One Stark manages to do okay, gotta have something bad happen to another. Daenerys looks to be near Vastoth Rock, which is kinda crappy for the rescue attempt by Jorah and Daario. I'm honestly not sure what Dany plans to do to get out of this one, except maybe try that dragon telepathy one more time. Cersei and Jaime look to be starting some shit, which is really nothing new. And Bran and Bloodraven are seeing another vision, this time of the Tower of Joy memory Ned Stark dreams about. I won't say exactly what happens here, but it's where we get a clearer sense of what happened to Lyanna. Overall, this episode felt like a straight continuation of the first one. It feels like they're definitely jumbling a lot of plots and trying to do their best to get them done as quickly as possible. Quick, we need to get rid of Balon and establish Euron! Quick, we gotta get Arya back to Jaqen! Quick, better establish Ramsay as the worst human on the planet ever! You get the point. I hope the show takes a bit more time to explain Bloodraven's story and the power he has, because a lot of it is super rushed, and might not be entirely clear to the people who only watch the series. Definitely not as many surprises as the first episode. Roos's death was telegraphed really hard. I think it actually would have been more of a shock to have him kill Ramsay. But I'm really looking forward to Bran's scene, since he gets to do more besides just walk through the woods and complain. And we'll keep our fingers crossed for Rickon's safety. What do you think the gift is going to be for Ramsay? Is it something more tangible, like wealth, land, or a person? Or is it something like an alliance? We're all hoping it's a knife through the heart, but Ramsay's not going anywhere from the looks of it. How much of the Tower of Joy will Bran see, and how much is he going to understand? And will we get any scenes for characters who haven't shown up yet this season, like Sam, Littlefinger, or Loras? Post your thoughts or comments below. I'm Calluna, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!
Geek Vision.